How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the video. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, like this video and give me some more ideas on what to do. Me and my dad did a little video on how to paint your brake calipers for very cheap and very easy on any car. My car being a 2003 Volkswagen GTI, but anybody can do it on their car. So we're going to show you how to do it, and let's just get right into the video. Alright, so the first thing you'll need is some caliper paint and some brake cleaner. And once you take the wheel off, go ahead and start scrubbing down the brake caliper with a bristle brush or a wire brush, something that can aggressively hit the brake caliper to get all that rust and dirt off of the brake caliper. You want to do this really good because you don't want any remaining dirt or rust or anything on the caliper, because that will affect the paint and it will chip it and it won't just look as good. So make sure you get it very good and kind of really get into the caliper with the brush. So go ahead and get the pin out of the brake caliper that holds it in. Make sure you get this out, don't paint over it because it won't look as good. So once you get that off, go ahead and spray the caliper down with some brake cleaner. Make sure you don't put too much on it because then it makes a mess. Just clean it off with a rag or compressed air gun. Alright, so once you've done that, like I said, I want to hit it 1 or 2 more times just to get all of that remaining dirt or rust that's on the brake caliper. You don't want to do it too much because then it'll kind of scratch the actual look of the caliper. So just make sure you do it to where it looks good to you. Just make sure you don't do it too much. Then spray all the dust off of the brake caliper so you don't paint that, because then it won't look as good and it could chip it. Alright, so once you've done that and have got the actual caliper and brake off itself, go ahead and hang that aside. Don't leave it dangling, set it on something, and go ahead and start painting the little stuff on the brake caliper part itself, like this little piece that holds it in. I did this black because I didn't want the whole entire thing red, but do any color you want to. Don't worry if you touch the actual rotor, because we're going to show you a trick how to get that off. And just make sure that you put it on there pretty good. Don't leave it really light coated because then it'll chip faster. Put a good amount of paint on there. Don't worry about getting like the inside part right there where it was, because it's not going to be shown anyways. So just make sure you dose it pretty good in some paint. Don't light cover it like I said. And then if you get it on the rotor, don't worry. So if you get it on the rotor, go and just spin the rotor just like so right now. And then what you want to do is take some of the brake cleaner, spray it on a rag, and then go ahead and just wipe on the rotor. It's not going to hurt anything, and it gets the paint off pretty easily. So don't worry if you don't get it all off. It'll come off eventually when you are braking. So once you do that, go ahead and start painting the caliper itself. Do light coats. Don't go crazy and just spray it heavily, because then it'll run and then it could peel and bubble up. So just like if you're painting something else, kind of do light coats and kind of in horizontal or vertical lines, but don't dose the whole entire thing with heavy paint, because you're just going to come back to it later and we'll do more laters. So just do that, don't do too much on it, and just leave it to dry after that. Alright, so while that dries, we're going to go to the back tire and get that off so we can start on the back rotor. Just like before, we're going to start scrubbing it with the wire brush and make sure we get all the dirt and rust off so that way when we paint it, it doesn't look like crap and there's no chipping or bubbles in the paint. So go at it a couple times, get it really good, and make sure you don't skip anything because you want it to look perfect when you get done. You don't have to get everything off because most of it is just wear, so get what you can off and then we'll start painting. So once you've done that, go ahead and blow it off with compressed air, douse it in some brake cleaner, and clean it very good so that way we can go and get ready to paint it. So once we've done that, we can go to the front one and do another coat on the front caliper, and then we go to the back part and we can start painting the little parts of the caliper just like before. Make sure you douse it pretty good and paint a heavy coating. Don't leave anything untouched, so that way it looks good when you get done with it. Go a couple of times over and over just painting this. You won't have to go back and do a second coating, so just paint this with the brush pretty heavily and make sure you get everything that will be showing. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and start masking off some of the little stuff around the brake caliper itself, such as the black paint that we've already done. Go ahead and start with the red paint and do light coatings like before. We're going to go back over it a few more times, that way we get a good even coat. Don't do it too heavy on the brake caliper because then it will run and it could bubble up and then it won't look as good, so make sure you do even coats. Also make sure you get every single little piece of the brake caliper, such as anything you don't see or anything under it or inside of it, so that way it looks perfectly good. Just like saying right there, get inside the brake caliper. We're going to go back to the front and install the front brake caliper. Make sure you completely let this dry. You don't want it running, so that way when you touch it, you don't leave any smudges or you smear the paint, anything like that. So make sure you let it completely dry. We're going to put it back in correctly. Take your time with this. Don't just throw it back on there. Put the little clip back into the brake caliper with either a hammer, preferably a rubber hammer, or like a wrench like we're doing. Just make sure you be extra careful and don't hit the paint because you don't want to scuff it or chip it before you even get the wheel back on. So now the fun part has begun. We can start putting the wheels back on. Just make sure you be extra careful on this part too and don't hit the caliper if it's still a little bit wet. You really don't want to hit the caliper at all because you don't want it chipping or scuffing the paint. Put the lug nuts back on, and of course on a Volkswagen you got to put the little security lock back on because Europeans are, well, weird like that. But go ahead and put the wheels back on and make sure you get them all secured. Make sure everything looks good behind the wheel, next to the rotor, and next to the caliper that you just painted. And make sure that nothing is hitting or going against the caliper. So now we'll go back to the back wheel, do the same thing, put the lug nuts back on, check everything, and make sure nothing is hitting or scraping the caliper or rotor, so that way nothing will get messed up that you just spent a lot of work on. So make sure everything looks good, and then put the wheel back on like so. So now is the fun part. We can look at our final project on how the calipers look. They look really good. That red and black paint really sticks out. Alright, so that is how you paint your brake calipers with little time and money spent that you can do yourself at home with just a few little products. No way am I saying that we are professionals at doing this. This is something that we kind of just threw together, a little DIY thing. But if you did like this video, please consider subscribing and make some more comments in the comments below of some ideas that we can do in the future on this car that I can help you guys out with. But again, if you like this video, please leave it a like and subscribe. And I really hope you guys like the video, and we will see you guys in the next one.